The small town of Ravenswood had always been cloaked in mystery. Nestled between dense forests and shadowy hills, its cobblestone streets whispered of old legends and forgotten curses. Among these tales, none were as infamous as the story of Annabelle, the doll with a sinister legacy. Years ago, the doll was handcrafted by a skilled artisan named Elias Morlin. He was known for creating lifelike toys, but Annabelle was his masterpiece. Carved from the finest wood, her delicate porcelain face bore a haunting beauty. Her glass eyes seemed almost alive, as though they followed you wherever you moved. Elias had poured his heart into the doll, but it was not out of love. Annabelle had been made as a vessel, meant to house the spirit of his deceased daughter, Clara. What Elias didn't know was that his experiment had gone horribly wrong. Decades later, the doll found its way to young Emily and her family, who had recently moved into a creaky Victorian house at the edge of Ravenswood. Emily discovered Annabelle tucked away in the attic, sealed in a dusty wooden chest. Her parents dismissed it as an ordinary toy, but Emily was enchanted by the doll's eerie elegance. She cleaned it up and placed it on her bedside table, unaware of the terror she had unleashed. At first, it was small things: doors creaking open by themselves, faint giggles in the dead of night, and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Emily often woke up to find the doll in a different position than where she had left it. Sometimes its head tilted toward her bed, its glassy eyes fixed directly on her. Her parents brushed it off, blaming Emily's overactive imagination, but the unease grew. One stormy night, Emily woke to the sound of soft tapping. She turned to the window, expecting to see the branches swaying in the wind, but they were still. The tapping continued. It was coming from the doll. Annabelle sat motionless, her tiny wooden hand raised, her painted fingers tapping rhythmically on the bedside table. Fear gripped Emily, but she convinced herself it was a dream. However, the next morning, claw marks appeared on her bedroom door. Her parents, alarmed, accused her of playing pranks. Emily denied it vehemently, but deep down, she knew the doll was responsible. That night, she decided to lock Annabelle in the attic. The following morning, Emily awoke to find Annabelle back on her bedside table, her dress stained with what looked like dried blood. Panic set in, and Emily's mother finally agreed to dispose of the doll. They tossed it into a bonfire in the backyard, watching as the flames consumed it. But as the smoke rose into the air, Emily swore she heard a high-pitched scream, followed by eerie laughter that sent shivers down her spine. The family believed they were free, but Annabelle's grip on their lives tightened. Strange things began happening throughout the house. Mirrors cracked, furniture moved on its own, and Emily started sleepwalking, muttering phrases in an ancient language no one could understand. Her once bright demeanor grew hollow, her eyes shadowed by something unexplainable. It became clear that the doll was no longer the vessel. It had transferred its curse to Emily herself. One evening, Emily's parents found her sitting in the living room, surrounded by her other toys. She had lined them up in a perfect circle, and in the center was a crude replica of Annabelle she had carved out of a block of wood. As they watched in horror, Emily whispered to the doll, her voice unnaturally deep. "Leave us alone," her mother cried, but Emily turned to her with a chilling smile, her voice layered with something inhuman. "She belongs to me now." Desperate, Emily's parents sought help from a local priest. Father Daniel was no stranger to tales of possession, but Annabelle's story chilled him to the core. He explained that the doll was a conduit for a malevolent spirit, one that thrived on fear and suffering. The priest agreed to perform an exorcism, but when he entered the house, the walls seemed to close in, and the air grew icy. As he began the ritual, the lights flickered, and a guttural scream echoed through the house. Annabelle appeared in the center of the room, her wooden form burned and twisted, yet horrifyingly intact. The priest's prayers seemed to anger the spirit more than weaken it. The room filled with shadows, figures emerging from the darkness, their faces contorted in agony. Father Daniel shouted for the family to leave, but Emily's mother refused, clutching her daughter as Emily convulsed on the floor. The priest managed to contain the spirit, but at a terrible cost. The house erupted into chaos, the windows shattering and the walls bleeding black ooze. In a desperate attempt to end the nightmare, Father Daniel plunged a blessed dagger into the replica Annabelle doll Emily had carved. A deafening roar shook the house as the spirit was expelled, but not without taking a piece of Emily with it. The family fled Ravenswood, leaving behind the cursed house and its dark history. Emily survived, but she was never the same. Her eyes, once bright with innocence, now held a depth of darkness that even time could not erase. Years later, a new family moved into the old Victorian house. Among the furniture left behind, they found a wooden chest in the attic. Inside was Annabelle, her glass eyes gleaming with malevolence, waiting patiently for her next host.